Okay.
All right. The next talk is OCaml Blockly by Kenichi Asai. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, OCaml Blockly. Block-based programming is becoming very popular. You can see Scratch, Google Blockly, Alice, Snap, and they are very nice in various aspects. But here I want to concentrate on the technical part, and they avoid syntax errors. So that's very nice. The slogan is, once a program is constructed, it runs. Okay, are we satisfied with this? Any decent language requires us to make syntax requires us to avoid syntax errors, but we also have to avoid unbound values. So it's lexical errors and also type errors. And for type functional languages, correct syntax is not enough. So what I want to do is to build an OCaml variant of Blockly, and where we encounter no syntax errors, no unbound value errors, and no type errors. So once a program is constructed, it really runs. And so let's see how it looks like. So this is the OCaml Blockly, and I define one function variable 1 there, and let's say it's 1. Whoops. Okay, and this variable 1 can be used within only in its scope. So if I drag it there, okay, the tips is in Japanese, but it says it's out of scope, so you cannot drop it there. But you can use it within its scope. So I can use it to define 3 there. But below there, we see that f receives its function argument called 1. So it means that if you use this 1 there, then we cannot use it because it is shadowed. So if we rename it to some, okay, if I rename it to something else, then I can use it there. And if I hover on the variable, then we can see that all the same variables are highlighted. So it knows where it goes. Okay, so let's now construct the factorial function. So in the else branch, I would say, okay, times, and times, and n. And then I want to make a recursive call there. Okay, I can do like that, but sometimes we don't want to construct a program top-down, so that we don't want to construct the outermost construct first, but we want to construct the innermost one first. And that is not allowed in this language, because if we want to make a n-1, it is not allowed there, because n is out of scope there. So to accommodate the bottom-up construction of programs, we provide a scope playground. So each let expression comes with scope playground. And in the scope playground, we can see that all the free variables that are available in that scope is there, and we can use those variables there. So here I can see 1, 3, f, and factorial because it is defined as a let rec. And then we can also use the variable n and make n-1 there, and make a recursive call there, and and we can plug that in. Oops, why not? I think I should, yeah, like that. Okay, let's say we want to compute a factorial of 5, but I cannot do that there, so I introduce another let expression there and say factorial. And if you say factorial of foo, of course it's a type error, so you cannot make it. So, say factorial of 5 and run it. Okay, okay. Well, I'm very sorry, but it's not connected to the internet, and it says it cannot run. But okay, you can run it, but you will see the standard text output of the standard OCaml. Okay, so that's the OCaml Blockly. Okay, so no syntax errors, no unbound values, no type errors, and bottom-up program construction is done in scope playground. So in a nutshell, OCaml Blockly behave as we language designers expect. So how is it perceived by students? I use the OCaml Blockly in my functional language course, 90 minutes flipped class once a week and 15 weeks. And I introduced OCaml Blockly in 2019. And students either use OCaml Blockly or Emacs equipped with Tuareg mode and Marlin mode. But at week 10, they all have to move to Emacs because OCaml Blockly does not support variants, so we cannot program with trees. At the end of the course, I ask students some questionnaires. So these questions are somewhat naive, and what I really want to do is that we want to see if the use of OCaml Blockly has any effect on the educational part of the educational part. But because OCaml Blockly was not built as an educational research project, but because I built it because it will serve students very much. So those questions are not considered as a research project, but I just asked them. But still, I want to extract some information how students perceived about the OCaml Blockly. So when did students stop using OCaml Blockly? So some students did not use it at all, and some students abandoned it after several weeks when the program gets bigger. But rather surprisingly, quite a number of students use OCaml Blockly all the way to construct the shortest path problem for the Tokyo Metro network. And before the OCaml Blockly support is ended. And in the free text comments, as well as I made an interview to the students in 2023, and they say something like that. So throughout, some students did not use OCaml Blockly because, they thought they need some training in writing texture programs. And at some point they understood syntax, then they move on to the text-based programming. But many people use OCaml Blockly quite a long time. And I asked them, well, how can you make such a big program like shortest path program using blocks? Then some of them replied that the length of the program does not matter. Well, if the program becomes bigger, then with texture programs, it still becomes hard to comprehend what's happening there. Then if you are using OCaml Blockly, the structure will be simpler to understand. So students appears to acquire their own way of understanding programs. So they grow with blocks, they have some intuition about the blocks. Okay, did the students find OCaml Blockly useful? Okay, something like that. Well, some students say it's good only for small programs. But most of the students said it was nice. And there were some deeper comments like, I could concentrate on programming without being bothered by syntax, or once become used to OCaml Blockly, writing text programs became easier. So that's quite nice. And rather surprisingly, many people said they are more aware of types. And it was used for detecting type errors. And that kind of answer was quite popular. And so I wonder how they understand the type concepts through OCaml Blockly. And in OCaml Blockly, a type has its own connector shape. So that's the integer, and that one is Boolean. And so I asked students, did you remember the connector shapes? And some said yes, some said no. And I tested them, and okay, so that's the result. And typically they remember simple types, but they do not parse the complex ones. So that is a block for forward right. And that big thing is the higher order function. And that connector shapes that, shows that. And they don't parse that, but still they can see that, oh, that part is complex, so that part must be a function. And so it seems they use that information there. It seems that how they acquire the type information, they try to connect all the things. And when they are rejected, okay, I have to think somehow there. And interestingly, anonymous, vast majority of interviews said they recognize colors. So some of them say they feel something from the color. Okay, that's warm, or I don't know. So currently colors of OCaml Blockly are based on types mostly, but not quite. So this one is a float of int, so it has the color of float, but it accepts the argument in integer. So that integer part is not in blue. So if we redesign so that the colors reflect type information more, maybe that has some good impact on students. Okay, do you think program got easier using OCaml Blockly rather than using textbooks and text-based programming? Like that? Okay, some say I did not use OCaml Blockly. Okay, that's okay. And understood only when writing programs in the text editor. So some students said, well, they need to write text programs by themselves rather than tinkering with blocks. And some neutral students said it was useful, but not sure if it leads to deeper understanding. So I asked something like, do you think the use of the OCaml Blockly was beneficial to understanding the deep concept of programming? Okay, I understood the concept, but I don't know if it's because of the OCaml Blockly or I just learned it. So, okay, this is a reasonable comment. And some said it is too useful. So you don't have to think, but you can just plug it in. But I would think that that's not a big problem because, you will have to think anyway to construct a decent program. So I think that's okay. And vast majority says, well, syntax support was useful, typing support was more useful, and in particular, beginning students were empowered. So some students thought they will not be able to write shortest path program anyway, but then they were introduced to Blockly, and okay, they were very encouraged by that. And I also asked, did OCaml Blockly have negative effects in that when you transfer to text programming, do you think it was, you couldn't write text programs at all? And okay, so the result is something like that. Most people said it was okay. And some of them said deeper than that. And I learned how to write programs in a text editor. So they are doing OCaml Blockly, but still they thought they learned programming in the text editor. Also, I became able to program in other languages too. So it is nice. I think they learned something there about the syntax. And neutral part, they say, okay, it was too useful, relying on it too much. And also some negative comments said I could not write any programs in text editor when switched. So when they switched, they were completely white with whatever they get. Okay, so they had no clue what to do there. So because I didn't have any question on the transition to text programming, I interviewed the students. And almost all students said the OCaml Blockly was nice at the beginning. And they could get over the syntax problem at the very beginning of their program quite easily. But when they switched, they were confused they were confused, yes. Quite a number of people said that. But I think that is not a big problem because they became able to write programs at the end anyway. And so they have to struggle somewhat. But at that time, they already know the basic structure of OCaml programs. And then they can write if statement, for example. If you say if, then you have to say then and else. And also, some of them said that their ability to write textual programs would not be lower if they started programming text-based programming from the beginning. So I think that's a good news. Okay, you might say that Visual Studio Code with the OCaml platform would be enough. Well, they provide all those information to you. And my answer is that OCaml Blockly supports the very beginning students, and they do not know how to write if statement. And if you cannot write that part, then you cannot get rid of those wavy lines that VS Code provides. So I think this is OCaml Blockly has some role in the education for the very beginning students. So summary and status. So OCaml Blockly avoids syntax, scope, and type errors, and bottom-up programming is via scope playground. And beginners do suffer from those errors, even for the CS major students. And and in particular, OCaml Blockly supports beginning students. And transition to text-based programming, I think, does not appear to be very hard. And current status is that it's rather miserable. After the main developer graduated, I maintain it by myself. It's a big system written in JavaScript, and it's almost impossible for me to maintain it, not to mention improve it. And this year, one of my undergraduate students was interested in that, so I tried to extract the essence of OCaml Blockly. That is difference from the Google Blockly to OCaml Blockly with that undergraduate student. But she's graduating in several months, and she's not coming to graduate course. So I think OCaml Blockly has some merit, and it's an interesting system to learn functional language. But it's maintenance in danger, and if you are interested in it, I'm happy to collaborate. Thank you very much.
Please walk up to the mic for questions.
Thank you for the wonderful talk. So I understand block languages are mostly used for learning programming, but I'm also wondering whether it would be useful for people who already know the language to actually step back and be forced to think about programming in a more structured way. Have you had any students who started using Emacs and then later on went back to using OCaml Blockly?
Basically, no. And I don't think, well, at least this OCaml, well, say if you have projection or editor, and that's for experts. But for the OCaml Blockly, well, one of the reasons is that it's not polished enough. So the expert will complain more. But you can see, well, you can see the structure of the program, yes. But I doubt it will be useful for.
Well, I think students might still be able to better understand the binding structure,
yes,
for example. Yeah. And student complaints are fine, right? It's fine if students complain. I don't mind students complaining if they still learn.
So block-based programming is great for not getting syntax errors, but it doesn't scale very well to larger programs. So people who work in educational computing have been thinking about this for quite a while and develop so-called frame-based programming languages like Stride or Greenfoot or BlueJ or Elan. Have you thought about just maybe appropriating, just as you've tried to take the lessons from block-based languages, what about taking the lessons from frame-based languages, which might actually be a better fit with OCaml than Scratch-like lessons?
Create this system
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
is that I want to help my students, and for my case, this is what is needed. So they had 1 year of C programming, but they are very new to OCaml, and they are not very strong students.
Sure. So, but these frame-based programming languages are directed at exactly that class of students. So my question is, did you consider using that?
So far, no.
Okay. So worth a look.
Okay.
It's a very good
Okay,
stream
yeah.
of work, mainly at King's College in London, I think.
Hi, thanks for the talk. What are the limitations? How far does this get into OCaml? In terms of like how many, what features of the language does this cover? Can this work with libraries? Sort of how, like.
Not much.
Okay.
Well, it includes the list library, and it includes record definition, record type definition, a match statement, but not variants, not exceptions, not modules, not modules.
Okay. Thanks.
So you used the shapes of connectors to indicate types. You didn't say anything about polymorphism, though. I wondered, what if you have a polymorphic identity function, for example? Is it a block that changes shape depending where you put it, or what happens?
Yes, it changes. It has special connector, and if you connect it, then that one is instantiated. So it supports red polymorphism, so Hindley-Milner red polymorphism.